All right, you guys, thank you for joining us again on our Thursday morning virtual coffee masterminds. Thursday morning is my favorite day of the week because I get to hang out with all you guys and bring to you speakers who just have really something different and unique to share with the group. And actually, when I had my first conversation with Gary, that's kind of what I got from him. His what he's going to talk to us about today is very unique. So I knew I had to share it with all of you guys. Gary told me, and Gary, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Gary told me he'd been in the real estate industry for something like 50 years. Is that right, Gary?
No, not yet. 49.
49. Okay. Close, close.
I can't
Um,
believe it. It's like yesterday. I remember my very first deal. It was a little house beside a stream, and it had a weeping willow tree, and it needed renovations. And I got more calls off that one ad than any other call ever. 25 calls. I think I sold three or four or five properties. I can't remember at my age. I'm entitled to forget at my age, if you don't mind. I just turned 78 just 2 weeks ago. And
Excellent. Well,
Happy belated.
Gary has a much
thank
better
you.
memory than I do. And I'm not quite 78. So, Gary, tell us all about what you're doing and how it is so unique to what we're used to seeing for like the MLS.
Okay, well, first of all, we believe in the MLS. I'm a realtor. I've been a real estate broker for 49 years, and we love the MLS. It's the bottom line in our business, no question. I used to get the very first TILA sheets and all the sheets. I used to file them and sit in the front seat of my car and tear them all up and put them in alphabetical order so that when I was driving around in my car, I could give better service to people because if while I'm driving them around in our car, which we used to do a lot, they would say, "How much is that home?" Well, I could go to my little filing cabinet right beside my seat in the car, and I could look up the alphabetical address and say, "Oh, here's the information on that." And the customers loved it because I had the information at my fingertips all the time, and they really kind of liked that. And really, we're not really selling homes or real estate, in my opinion. We're really selling service. Would you all agree or disagree?
100% agree.
And so that's how I kind of got started. And then I got met a builder. He was one of the people that called on this property too. And I ended up, he said, if you could ever find me some lots and I'll give you the listings back. And I found him some lots about 3 weeks later and I got the listings back. Oh, it was incredible. And I never stopped for the next 15 years selling new homes and getting all the resales. And I averaged one home a week for the next 10 years. And it was incredible. So you never know what's going to happen your way. It's sort of whatever falls in your lap in real estate. Well, after being in residential real estate for many, many, many years and doing pretty good, um, I got interested in commercial real estate. And I went to a CCIM meeting that stands for, and in fact, you might want to take some notes, people, because these are wonderful education for anyone that's interested in commercial real estate. I'm going to recommend the CI 101 course, and you should actually mark that down. It's called CI 101, and it was put on by the CCIM Institute, which is a division of the National Association of Realtors in Chicago, as you all know, on North Michigan Way. And so I got involved with the CCIMs, and I went to the meetings, and in the meetings, I ended up becoming a membership chairman and president of the chapter. And then eventually I became the World Conference chairman for the 1999 CCIM International Commercial Real Estate World Conference, which sounds really fancy, but it was a bunch of brokers like yourselves and myself, but they were working on the commercial side of it. And we would have a meeting and we would decide what were all the great reasons to come to the conference and all that stuff. But I learned so much in the CCIM networking marketing sessions, and every one of you has a CCIM chapter in your state. You just have to search it out. You can go to ccim.com. That's another resource that I'm giving to you now. And even though you might not want to get your CCIM designation, Every single residential salesperson in the world, in my opinion, should take the CI 101 course. Now, what does that do for you? Well, it helps paint a picture. When you go show a home or a property, a lot of times the people say, well, I want to think about it. And when they walk away, you kind of lose them. But if you could paint a picture, a beautiful picture of how real estate makes money, and when we all think about it, we all know that 90% of the real estate in the real estate or the millionaires in the world, they made it in real estate. Am I right or wrong? You know, how do you paint the picture so that when they say, I want to think about it and they go away, they can take this picture with them and they think about it and they open it up at home and they start to show all their family members and all their colleagues and anybody that's a financial advisor and accountants and lawyers. And everybody says, oh, that's too much. You should forget it. The economy is going back. There's all kinds of things to shoot down that deal, potential deal. But when you have a nice picture on the screen, it shows all the money going into a project and all the money coming out of the project. It includes your commission, and they can make money after a 5-year hold. And you can, by the way, this course is a 5-day course put on by the CCIM Institute in your real estate boards, someplace in the United States, Canada, and I think, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 countries around the world. I lost track. And it's a beautiful course because it examines the implications of investing in any income producing real estate. So it doesn't matter whether it's retail, office, industrial, residential, apartment buildings, buying 5 single family homes, investing into duplex, triplex, fourplex, all of that, you can analyze it and give them a picture of the money going into a project, the money coming out, and what happens to the money when it's in with the financing, the expenses, and you give them that. And that's the picture I'm talking about. The cash flow analysis sheet, that kind of thing. You give it to them. When they walk away, it shows that they're making money. It shows they're making money. So they think about it and they turn back to this. They listen to other people. And other people come up and they'll look at that analysis and say, I don't believe in those taxes. I think they're going to go up. The heating's going to go up. The insurance is going to go up in Florida. It's going to double. All this kind of information that people are flowing around in the industry. You can go ahead and plug it in, rework the numbers, give it back to them. They can go show it to all the people. And maybe instead of offering 2.9 million for something, you might offer 2.5 million for something based on reworking the figures, but at least you'll still have them to work with. And that CCIM organization was just wonderful. And I'd like to share that with each and every one of you. And you're always welcome to call me personally if you want to. However, I'm going to ask that you make an appointment. Everything I do nowadays is by appointment on our major website. By the way, you can click on that QR code. Can you tell me if that's the first time I put the QR code up here? I noticed, Danny, you've got a QR code. And actually, I learned it from another lady, and I don't see her here today, putting the QR code right beside my picture there on the screen. But that'll take you to the app. And how that came about was this. The CCIM Institute, we have chapters all over the United States, Canada, and the rest of the world. And we meet on a regular basis. It could be at a hotel. It could be like we meet at the big hotel once every 2 months kind of thing. And we do networking from 5 to 7 o'clock and talking real estate, developing good business relationships. But in the chapter, we would go into the auditorium and it seats like about 80, 90 people. We would get about 40, 50, 60 people, mostly real estate brokers. You're invited to join all the chapters in CCIM. You can join, I think they're roughly 100 to 150 bucks a year, something like that. And then you can learn more about commercial real estate. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up to a lot of residential people, and I love what you're doing, Debbie, getting all these people together and bringing all this information. And I'm learning things from everybody. And it seems like the more I learn, the more I find out I don't know. And it's just wonderful because I like learning all this stuff. But the residential people with especially if you've been in the business 5 years, for the new people, you should get started, but you might not know what you're doing as much as the people that have been in it 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. you've already got a great handle on mortgages and title insurance, everything else that's going on in the business. So with one little tweak, you can actually start to learn a little bit more about commercial real estate. It opens up a whole new world for every one of you. Why? Because every single person that owns a business, they also own a home. So each person you deal with, you have two chances to do business, not just one. Now, how can you end up doing business in commercial real estate in your area? Well, I'm going to start with something that is helping brokers and salespeople on our network. We have a little association. It's called the ICI World Association of Real Estate Brokers and Salespeople. And we're teaching them how to do commercial real estate, but in something very special. We're not duplicating MLS. What we are doing is taking the information in the business and sharing it with others. It's called the exclusive information that is specifically prohibited due to the realtor compliance rule. As you know, I was in Washington in 2000, I think 19 or 20, I forget. And I attended the meeting where that was passed, where if you have an exclusive signed listing for residential, you must put it on MLS within 3 days. Am I right or wrong? If you
Yes,
have a signed exclusive residential listing, this does not apply to
yes,
commercial real
yep,
estate.
yep, you're right.
Okay, so
Right.
commercial real estate, this does not apply to. In other words, you can do exclusive real estate as much as you want, commercial real estate. But if it's residential coming for sale and you got a signed listing, you must put it on MLS within 3 days. Okay. And, but what we're doing is we don't have signed listings. We are a networking service. And when you load the app that's up there that you see, it's really a global networking information service. Yes, you can put your exclusive listings on if you wish to. I mean, your MLS listings, because in one sense, we're like classified ads in a newspaper, but it's all controlled and run by brokers. And with a public face to the public, we get about 40,000 IP addresses a month hitting all the various websites. We have over 150 domain names and websites all over the world, all triggering leads for members on the service. And what's exciting about it is the opportunities to do business that you cannot do on MLS. MLS, unless you can get a signed listing, you cannot put it on MLS. And so if somebody says to you, I'd like to sell my property, but I don't want to give you a listing, but I will pay you a commission if you bring me a buyer, that is an opportunity in real estate to do business. And it's falling on deaf ears. What do you do with it? Here you got a chance. If you could only put it on MLS, you could get all these buyers. It would be wonderful. But you can't do it because you can't get a signed listing. So I have learned going to the real estate boards in the CCIM chapter in commercial real estate. We network a lot of exclusive real estate because they don't want it on MLS. It could be bad for business. If you have a restaurant, a hotel, a daycare center, I don't care what kind of business it is, it could actually be bad posting that on MLS. And so how are you going to sell that and help that person? Well, you can do it by asking 3 questions. And if you like, I'm going to show you how brokers have made over $1 billion asking these 3 special questions. I will give you a resource that you can check after the meeting. The resource is on the login page. It's number 5 at iciworld.com. iciworld.com. It's on the login page, and under services, there's numbers 1 to 25, but you click on number 5 and it'll say featured videos. And when it says a featured video, it's actually a recording of sessions that we conduct for real estate boards, real estate offices, and real estate associations. And we cover all the major offices and real estate associations as much as we can with this information. And in that, you'll be able to take a picture of these 3 questions. And I'm going to suggest that every one of you has a chance to make 10, 20, 30, 40. We got up to $70,000 within 90 days of practicing it in your market area. And what are these 3 special questions? Thank you for your patience, everyone. I know that when I do my little webinars one-on-one, I'm like a doctor in a doctor's office all day long, every hour on the hour, helping salespeople one-on-one to make these connections and to make sure they work, because we have a special pledge. Every 90 days, everybody should be making connections and doing deals. And so thank you for your patience, because I know your minds are going faster than what I can talk. And I appreciate that. It helps keep my stress level down when I can go at my pace as well. Because being at my age, we got to fight all that blood pressure stuff and everything too. So here's what happens. You're driving around, you're in your car, and you go into a business. I'm going to ask maybe just 3 or 4 questions here. Does anybody ever go into a pharmacy? How many people go into a pharmacy? Okay. How many people get their car washed? Okay. When you go into a pharmacy, stay with me on this. I'm going to develop it. Could you ask to speak to the owner of that pharmacy? Could you do that today before 5 o'clock if you wanted to? Am I right or wrong? Could you do that if you want to? Okay. Secondly, if you drove your car through a car wash and you go up to the front and you're paying for your car wash, usually it's the owner that's taking the money, because he's right there taking the money. Some of it's cash. And he'll take the money. Could you ask to speak to the owner if you went through a car wash? Could you do that? Okay. If you were at a wedding on the weekend and it's 11 o'clock at night and everybody's dancing around, and you come to the front lounge, the front hallway to come in and have a little break and catch some fresh air at the front door, could you ask to speak to the banquet hall owner? Could you do that if you wanted to? Because they're always there. They're making sure they got a big banquet, and they're going to make sure everything's running right. Am I right or wrong? You could ask to speak to almost any owner of any business in any metropolitan area or small town, North America, any day of the week. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Okay, now, I know one thing about real estate people. Some people say, oh, I go into a pharmacy, I can't get them. It's owned by a big conglomerate. Someplace, somebody owns that. Somebody owns it. And I know one thing about each and every one of you. You will not give up. If you have something in your mind that you want to get a hold of something or do something, we are stubborn in this business. We will stick with it until we find the answer. Am I right or wrong? Because we're very determined people. So when you talk to the owner of that business, you can leave your business card if you're not there and keep at it until you get a hold of him. But if he happens to come to the little wicket, where they want to have a little meeting with you, and you talk to him, he's going to say, may I help you? At that point, I suggest you bring out your business card and you say, and you should even give them a compliment if you can, that, I like your pharmacy. I come here quite a bit. I happen to work in the area, and you hand out your business card and say, I happen to be working in real estate, and you never know when maybe we can do some business. Just introduce yourself, but do it in your own personality, in your own way. Introduce yourself. Could you do that with the owner of a restaurant? Okay. Could you do that with that banquet hall owner if he meets you in the hallway 11 o'clock at night? Could you do that? Introduce yourself. I happen to be in real estate. I just wanted to introduce myself. You never know when we could do some business. And the same thing going through a car wash or a daycare center, a pizza place, a submarine sandwich place, any kind of business at all. And he says, okay, yep, you never know, if I ever want to do some business, I might call you back. And then you say right away, and by the way, everyone should mark this down. May I ask you a business question? You should write that down. May I ask you a business question? And at that point, they're going to say, sure, if you can make it fast, maybe they might say. But the point is, you're asking for permission to ask them a business question. And they might say, well, come back tomorrow and I'll talk to you. I don't know. Most of everybody gets a yes answer. That I get the feedback from brokers and salespeople like yourself. We only work with brokers and salespeople. And so then you ask them the first business question, and you should write this down. You know, it's one thing to have computers, people, and all this technology, but it's another thing to apply it to the real estate business. We're specializing in applying this technology to the real estate business. And this is the question. This is a concept, a real estate concept that's making brokers over $1 billion. I have brokers making over $1 million. $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 checks are not uncommon. They're making tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars here. So, and you can read all the testimonials. They're all online. We publish them. They're online. You can see them later. And that simply proves, in my opinion, that it can work for you. If it works for them, it can work for you. Here's the first question. Here we go. You ask the owner, if I was to get you the price you wanted, you should write that down. If I was to get you the price you wanted, would you consider selling? That's it. I'm letting you know you shouldn't change one word. We've been doing this for 29 years. The brokers are making money that are doing it. It's working wonderfully. And you will all be providing a fabulous service. I'm telling you, each of you, and I'm going to explain why you're providing a valuable, important service for the economy of the nation, for yourselves to bring in an income, but for that business owner. That nobody will talk to the business owner about selling their place. There's only two professions that are allowed to talk to a business owner about selling their real estate and making money from it. One is the legal profession, and the other one is realtors. We have the right to talk to people and make money from selling and dealing in information and making money from it. I call that information, real estate information, the gold that is on the internet. And I've had interviews and articles and papers about the gold on the internet. It's the information. All of the AI and everything that Debbie's doing, this is all information. Well, you could sit here all day long and it's like going to a theater and you leave and you haven't made any money. But in real estate, you can make money with information. Because if you know about a buyer who wants something and you can find it over here and it matches, you put them together, we're all like matchmakers. That's how we make our commissions and our money and help them. And secondly, in my opinion, what I really like is you protect the public. Because when people deal through you, you're all trained in consumer protection about where did their money come from. You know, they got to declare $10,000 and all this kind of stuff that you do. You're protecting the public from fraud and all kinds of other things. And so I feel comfortable working with every single one of you, that if somebody does a deal in real estate with you, they got a good chance it's going to be successful and go through properly and not get, there's so much fraud and insecurities going on the internet, mortgage fraud, title fraud, all kinds of things. Even little old ladies, they're getting defrauded by somebody posing as a certain celebrity. There's billions of dollars. And I have articles on our website. If you click on the word more on our website at iciworld.com, you can click on security and you'll see W5 TV programs with all the things that are going on, how people have been, one lady, she thought she was in love with somebody and going to meet him in another country, and then they put stuff into her suitcase and shipped her off someplace else, and she got caught at the border, and next thing you know, she's been years in jail, all over because she was defrauded. All of this stuff's going on, and the internet, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. And thank God for you real estate people. Even we're getting taken. We're getting sometimes make mistakes. You click on something you shouldn't click on. All of this stuff is in the more button at iciworld.com. And you can learn about that. Click on security and you can learn about that. And so I feel good about that. You can be the one asking these questions. Now, the business owner, you're going to be surprised when you start asking business owners, would you consider selling for the right price? I think the majority of you may be surprised by the number of yes answers you get. I'll give you an example. I also do webinars, and when I ask the people in the audience of my audience, how many restaurant owners might say yes to that question? Do we have a way of doing a poll on that right now, Debbie? Like if I asked everybody to put in a number, and here's the question. The question is, if you talk to 10 restaurant owners, I'm only using restaurants as an example, but I can do this for optometrists, dentists. I had one of our brokers went right back after the seminar, asked this dentist if he would consider selling. Dentist said, yeah, you bring me in 2.7. We've been trying to sell it. He went to our service, found the buyer for the dentist, showed it, and he made $70,000 just like that within 90 days. I didn't make it. We're a break-even service. We're a membership organization. ICI World is just a membership organization, and we've got 300 members. We built it to 700 at one time, but I'm getting older, and there's a reason why I cut it back, because we were going too fast, and I got to make sure we get through any economical situation. I'm going to write a book on it someday. It'll be that thick of the challenges to get where we are today, but it's working beautiful and smooth right now. And it's looking for energetic people and young people like yourself to kind of continue and take it up further. And Debbie, I want to talk to you about doing something like that together, maybe someday, combining it all somehow. And, but anyways, the question is, how many restaurant owners do you think would say yes to the question, would you consider selling if you got the right price? Can you put that in the chat box maybe?
Yeah, that's perfect. And Danny just dropped in 60%. So any other answers?
Yeah, how many do you think? I know some of you might say one or two or nothing. I know that a lot of residential people think there's no business out there, but there is more than you think. That's the point. We have our commercial brokers say 10 out of 10. If I can get somebody the right money, I'm sure they would want to sell. So we're suggesting that a good portion, you're going to get more yes answers than you ever dreamed of. Now, the question is, being in residential, what do you do when an owner says, yes, you'll sell this business? I know nothing about selling a business. Well, we have solutions for that for residential people. We have solutions for it all, for every single one of you. One of them is you could split your commission with a broker who sells businesses and say, if you don't mind helping me sell this business, I could split my commission 50-50 with you. Would you like that if you can help me show me how to sell a business? Basically, in businesses, you need a couple of things. Number one, you need a profit and loss statement for the last 3 years. You don't get it. The owner gets it. By the way, the owner doesn't get it. He gets it from where?
The accountant.
The accountant. That's right. The second thing is the statement of assets and liabilities. Again, you get it from the owner. And when you have those things and a few other things, which a more like a business broker can maybe help you with, or your manager in your office, the owner of your real estate office can help you do these things. And split your commission on the first one to get them involved and kind of learn how to do it. Or you can do a referral. And this is what all residential people in North America, 1.5 million of us, we should be doing referrals. Because if you know that somebody wants to sell their business and it happens to be a banquet center of $4 or $5 million, I'll say $5 million for the sake of argument, and the commission is $250,000, which is easily, it can be $250,000 to sell a $5 million banquet center. That's usually split $125,000 to the listing broker, $125,000 to the selling broker. You would be on the listing side because you know about that banquet hall owner, because you asked the question, would you consider selling if I got you the right price? How much does it cost for each of you to ask that question? How much? You can use your hand. 0. I like it. And thank you. 0. It's a free question, everybody. Get excited. Get excited. This is an opportunity to make money like never before. And it's quiet. It's a quiet business. Nobody's jumping up and down. The bands are not playing, And so you ask that question, And the owner has one of two choices when you ask that question. What are the two choices? Answers. Will
Yes or
you,
no?
yes or no? Guess what, people? Even if that owner says no, you have still accomplished something. What you've accomplished is he might take your card and say, you know, if I ever change my mind, we'll call you back. You have planted a seed in that person's mind. And so that night, they could end up going back and talking to their spouse and they say, you know, I had a young lady in here today or a young man in here today, and they were looking to try to maybe they had a buyer for my pharmacy or my daycare center or my liquor store, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. And what do you think there? And she might say, let's give it a shot. Give them a chance to sell it. They could call you back the next day. It could be the next month. It could be the next year. It could be 2 years. But you've planted a seed because that owner knows that someday they want to sell, and they've got a card of somebody that showed some interest for the first time. And guess what? Behind the scenes in their mind, they could have health problems. They have to sell. They are bored. They've been doing the same thing every single day for the last many years. They're bored. They want to get out. We've got young bucks that are running the business. They're dynamic, but they're bored of the one business. They want to open another one and start a franchise. All of these reasons are reasons why they want to sell, and nobody is talking to them about it. But you can. And when you ask them, would they consider selling if they could get the right price? They have their reasons why they're dissatisfied and they want to move, and you're the ones that can provide the solution. When they say yes, they could say, yes, you bring me in 1.2 million for my pharmacy. I'll pay you a commission, but I don't want to give you a listing. You should ask 3 special questions. And I could show my screen or I could just dictate the questions and you can listen to it later. It's up to you, Debbie, how we do it.
Why don't, Gary, we're kind of getting short on time, so why
Okay,
don't you give
short
us
on
those
time,
3
we won't do it.
questions?
We can maybe do another seminar later where I can show a lot of good stuff online. But the 3 special questions, how much time do we have so I can work to it?
If you could wrap up in 4 minutes, then we'll go into our
Okay, 4
breakout room.
minutes. Let's try to do it in 4 minutes, okay? Here it is. This is a way for all of you to make money today in your area by asking these 3 special questions. You ask the owner, will you pay me a commission if I bring you a buyer? Got it? Anybody have a problem with that question? Actually, I can't answer the questions if you did have, but nobody usually has a problem with it. The second question is, will you cover my showing with a 48-hour exclusive listing once I have a buyer? And in the essence of time, if you need to review this, it's number 5 on the login page, featured video. It's covered. It's a 90-minute session that we conduct for real estate associations. The third question is, will you give me permission to market it, but I'm going to do it without the address? So in other words, you can put properties on ICI World without the address, and you can trigger a lead for a buyer, but you must not put the address for 2 reasons. Both from an ethical point of view, that you should not give consent, you should not give an address of a property for sale without the consent of the owner in writing. Would you all agree or disagree? And number 2, people can go behind your back. If you don't have a signed listing, they can go behind your back. Am I right, Danny? What do you think? You're right. Okay, so when you ask these 3 questions, you can post that on a worldwide information service, ICI World. We got 100 websites. One of them is worldrealestatenetwork.com. And you can post it on there. Pharmacy, Miami area, $1.2 million making money. That's it. That's the whole ad. You just give a general area and the type of property. Next thing you know, you get a call. What's the first question everybody's going to ask you? What's the address? If you don't mind, I'd like to drive by. And if I like it, I'll call you back. Do you give them the address? Everyone say no. Good show. That's the number 1 thing that we teach on ICI World. Even for MLS listings, we think you should trigger a lead first. then give them an address because all your listings expire all the time and they could go after the expiry date. And then you go get yourself, you tell the people when they call you on the phone, when you listen to number 5 on the login page on iciworld.com, it's going to teach you, and there'll be a picture you can take with your camera, how to answer the phone. When they ask you for the address, you say, in this particular case, we have to put an agreement in place first. But if you like, I'll show it to you on Saturday. You come to my office and I'll make arrangements for you to see it. And then on the Friday, the day before your showing, you go get yourself a 48-hour exclusive listing to cover your showing. We have over $1 billion of sales of members doing it this way. It's brand new. People are hearing about it. And I love the opportunity to have a one-on-one with any and every one of you, but you have to make an appointment on the calendar that you will find on iciworld.com. And because I'm working to the time limit, Debbie, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with all you wonderful people here. And I love your system and all the other things that you teach. I'm learning from everything too. Thank you, people.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary. You know, Gary had a lot of great ideas here, right? Like even the things that you can put into practice today as you're out there doing the running errands and doing the things that you have to do. Great, great information, Gary. I love it. Okay, you guys, we're going to go into, I think we're just going to have time for one breakout room. We'll do a 10-minute breakout room session and then come back in here to wrap up. So I do have the breakout rooms ready. I'm going to open them. And Gary, would you like to provide us with an icebreaker question for the breakout room?
What are some of the ways that you, if you're standing at line in a donut shop and you're in line, what are some of the ways that you can introduce yourself to the person standing in line to introduce yourself as a real estate person?
Excellent. Okay,
And
how are
I
you
have
going to
one
introduce
question
yourself?
that I ask, and I wouldn't mind covering that at the end somehow.
Okay, how are you going to introduce yourself to your neighbor in the line at the donut shop to let them know you're a realtor? Here we go.
And I have to get.
Hey, Debbie.
Hey, Bill, I'm sorry I just now saw you, but
No,
we just went into breakout rooms, so
no
I'm
problem.
putting you in one of them.
I just came to say hi to you. No problem.
Okay, here you go.
Thanks.